So I want to start
Sorry.
like right from the beginning. So you've been in the sport a long time. You swam at Berkeley. You went to Olympic trials, and you've coached for multiple teams throughout the Bay Area. So can you talk about your history with the sport and where you've started and where it's led you to now?
Yeah, I started with Neptune swimming up in Santa Rosa. Um, yeah, we had a pool in my backyard, and I used to swim with my friends and with my siblings. And then one of my aunts suggested I try out for the swim team, and so my mom called the Neptune Society, which is a cremation society, and asked about the swim team. And then she finally found Neptune swimming. So I swam with by the time I was in the senior year, my head coach was Guy Miller, and he was, I think, a really smart guy. He was, kind of on that Dave Salo
Yeah.
edge of things, where he was into really like a lot of speed work and stuff like that. So our practices weren't super long. He also had a full-time job, so he wasn't the coach in the mornings. We had a different coach in the mornings named Mark Howe, who was a really great guy. And it was kind of a more of a low key environment. Although we did have some good swimmers, it wasn't like a super highly pressurized situation. We did have a cool experience when I was a summer. I guess it was the summer before my senior year, or like my junior year of high school, kind of midway through. Carol Capitani moved to Santa Rosa and coached us for like 6 months.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so I have that connection with her and Dan Greaves, who's the head coach of Neptune's now. We swim team, and then Joe Glenn, who's the head coach of Olea in Hawaii, on Oahu. We all swam together, so we all ended up being swim coaches, and I think she influenced that to some degree. Just knowing that like she was really into it, very passionate about what she was doing, connected well with us. So that was a cool experience that I had as an age grouper. And then my friend Dan was from Davis originally, so we would sometimes go down and swim with Pete Motikaitis, who was the coach at Davis, but he was Davis Aquadarts at that time. Later, he became the head coach of the Davis men's swim team. So it's kind of, I look back on it, I think that was kind of cool that I got to swim with some really good coaches when I was young, even though at the time I didn't know that they were like going to be really good coaches, because they were young too. And yeah, and then I was lucky enough to walk on at Cal. Um, I went like 4:33 in the 500 out of high school and 4:05 in the 400 IM. So it's just kind of right on the edge where they would let me be
Yeah.
on the team. I redshirted my freshman year. I did more yardage, more volume than probably double what I was doing in high school, and was exhausted the whole time. Um, but each year I improved a little bit. In my senior year, I was elected captain, and I made NC2As in the 400 IM. I went 350, which at the time was pretty fast. I think I was fifth all time at Cal at that time.
Oh, I
Now,
didn't even
now,
know that.
yeah, we probably wouldn't even make the top 50 now. But yeah, and then that summer of '98, I got 11th at nationals in the 400 IM. So it was fun because each year I got a little better. That was encouraging. I ended up
Nice.
swimming with Nort Thornton most of the time, who really changed my life a lot.
Nice. So obviously you stayed in the sport after graduating, and it led you down the road to Livermore Aquacowboys. How was the team founded? I know it started in 2007 with only a handful of athletes, but can you talk about how the team was founded and what eventually led to where it is now?
Yeah. So Livermore Aquacowboys is actually a super old team, like from the I think 1950s. It's one of the oldest
Yeah.
teams around. Um, and they used to do a meet called the Aqua Rodeo, or I don't know if they pronounce it Rodeo, but it was at Maynissen, which was 25-meter pool, and people would come from all over because there were barely any 25-meter meets in the United States. So there were short course meter world records set at that pool. Mark
Oh wow.
Spitz swam at that pool back in the '70s. So it was like a kind of a cool thing, and I think that they gave out special, awards with cowboy hats on them or whatever, and it's kind of a thing. Um, so then, there was a period of time when the Cal-High pool was built, because originally Rich Thornton was hired out of Cal to be the head coach of the Livermore Aquacowboys by my mother-in-law, Diane Nasik. And then the Cal-High pool was built. They hired Rich over there. And then Diane, convinced everybody to merge the teams. So that's what created San Ramon Valley Livermore Aquatics, SRVLA. And SRVLA in the 80s was like a real powerhouse team with a combination of Livermore and San Ramon kids. And then there was a point, I think, in the maybe the late 90s where the parents didn't want to do the driving, back and forth, and so they decided to pull away and separate. That Livermore side of things got renamed Tsunami Aquatics. They didn't have the kind of organization to set up to keep a head coach, so they ran through a bunch of different coaches, lost a bunch of kids, so it dwindled and dwindled until 2007 when there was 13 kids. And then they decided to rename it Livermore Aquacowboys. They brought my wife Jeannie and I on to coach it. And so when we showed up, and Jeannie's from Livermore originally, when we showed up, there were 13 kids on the team. And then, over time, we just built it up. Jeannie was coaching with me. She was actually the head coach when we came out here. She got hired as the head coach. I was her assistant. We were coaching together for about a year, and then she decided she wanted to step back from coaching, and then I became the head coach. And then a year later, we hired Lisa, and we've just grown steadily since then.
So I want to jump ahead really quick because you bring up Maynissen and the rarity of short course meters pools, and I'm wondering if you can talk about how being able to train in short course meters, especially this past season year round, has, if at all, affected the team's ability to transition into long course for better or for worse, like to make it easier or harder.
Yeah, I love it. I love short course meters. I feel like the kids can keep their speed like they do in yards, and we can be really precise. But they can correlate what they're doing to long course times. I mean, it's a little faster because of the turns, but they're doing meter swims. So if we're doing a 200 fly at Maynissen, it's a 200 meter fly, which I think is good for them. I think it also helps them kind of have that combination where they keep their speed, but they also have just a little bit more finishing ability, like you get from training long course sometimes. So I like it quite a lot. I think it's a great combo, and I think it's good that we go in between in the mornings we do short course yards, and then we do Maynissen in the afternoons. I think it's a good combo.
Honestly, I always bless you.
Excuse me.
I always liked the Maynissen pool. I enjoyed short course meters a lot. I found it to be like a good happy medium between the extremely long 50-meter pools and 25 yards, which felt too short. Like I always felt like it was a nice happy medium between the two.
Yeah.
So
I think it's fun.
go ahead. So
no, I just
sorry. So I've got some just sort of like quick questions, not really like they're not that lengthy, just some rapid fire questions. I'm curious as to what have been some of your like go-to sets that you've used with your athletes, and conversely, what have been some sets that you've tried out and maybe haven't worked as well.
So that lot depends on the event that we're working on. And we kind of run a system where we're cycling through different energy systems within each week. There's a great Urbancheck freestyle IM set that I love, which we'll definitely do several times a year every season. And you just go 400 free, and then 4 ones IM, 450s fly, fast on the minute. The IM and the free is short rest. And then you just flip it each round. So if you did a 400 free and then 4 ones IM, next round you go 400 IM, 4 ones free. And then the 50s are backstroke. And then you go back to the original pattern for the breaststroke round, and then back to the second pattern for the free. So that's a 4,000 yard set, and they're getting 1650s fast in it within that 4,000 yards. It's really a fun set. There's also another set. I don't like to do this too much because it's a very, I feel like it's a pretty intense set, but just doing 21s on the two from a dive, one fly, two back, three breaths, four free, and they're
Oh
trying to
boy.
hit 400 AM goal pace on
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, that's a good set. The some of the other stuff I like to do is just very dependent on the strokes. Like with breaststroke, we'll do lots of 25s and isolate the kick in the pool a lot. And fly, we'll tend to do, more shorter stuff. And every once in a while, I'll do a little bit of over distance fly, but a lot of fins, a lot of kind of mixing and kicking and drilling into what we're doing. And then freestyle depends, who's doing what, but we do some sandpiper type stuff, and then we do some sprint stuff too.
It's funny you should mention that John Urbanchek set. I've used that set on some of my swimmers. Obviously, like modified down for younger athletes considerably. But I actually didn't know about the origins of that set. I just remember doing it in practice a couple times.
Yeah,
Um,
so if you want to know a little bit about that, like Nort Thornton was really good friends with John Urbanchek, so they would talk on the phone all the time. And so when I was swimming at Cal, Tom Dolan was swimming at Michigan, and he was the world record holder in the 400 IM. He was a great swimmer, great 400 freestyler. He could do everything. And so Nort, I was training in the summers. Just a few guys would stay. It's not like it is now where most of the team stays. But my training buddy was a Thai guy named Ratapong Sarasamont, and he had been the Asian Games champion in the 400 IM. He was like a 416, 400 IMer, maybe like a 213, 200-meter breaststroker back in the 90s. Really good swimmer and super tough. And so one summer pretty sure we just did all John Urbanchek stuff. And Nort just got on the phone with John Urbanchek and we just did all his stuff. So basically we were kind of mirroring how Tom Dolan was training. And then that summer was really cool because at the LA Invite, which used to be called the Janet Evans Invite, Nook and I were in the finals of the 400 IM with Dolan. I got to swim right next to Dolan. So I was like actually right at his hip, which is like one of the highlights in my career.
that must have been a pretty cool experience, actually.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
So going back to like the Livermore Aquacowboys, can you talk about the team's progression in terms of groups? Like I know it starts with pre-comp, and then can you detail the progression from group to group up to senior?
Yeah. So we have kind of like a split track. So we'll do pre-comp, and then there's novice one, novice two, novice three. And then from novice three, they'll either go to the junior one group or the junior two group. Most of the kids in the junior one group are actually kind of older, later beginner swimmers. So if someone comes to the team and they're 11 and they've never really swum before, they might be in that junior one group. Usually, like if they've been swimming since, for a couple years and they make it to the novice three group, they're probably going to go to the junior two group. That's the more competitive track. Then they go to the pre-seniors, then the seniors. If they're, maybe a little bit of a later starter, they might go to the junior one group, then the junior two group, then the junior one group, then the JV one group, then JV two, and then varsity. And some people from varsity go over to the seniors as well. So there's different ways to kind of continue to progress the swimming, but it's based on, at what age they start, what level they're at. Do they go to meets? Do they go to practice consistently? That's how they move through it.
Okay. So building off of that, in this past season, the team gained level 4 club status, which is a pretty cool accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the criteria that the team fulfilled to reach that status?
Yeah, so what you do with that is actually just quite a lot of infrastructure work, paperwork. So you're talking about what kind of trainings you have for the coaches, what kind of trainings you have for the parents. You do have to have certain swimmers at certain levels of achievement. That gives you points as well. You have to have the right kind of language on your website. You have to have kind of like clear descriptions of groups, and you have to have a training plan. Basically, all these kind of different organizational tasks to make sure that your team is a well-organized team. And you get points for each one of those, and then depending on how many points you have, you can do like 2, 3, or you do have to have, I think for level 4, you do have to have like at least one person at the national level or something. So it's a mix between achievement and just kind of your organizational structure of your team. And then you have, on the other hand, you have like the bronze, silver, gold status stuff. That's all based on any swim that a swimmer on your team performs that's at the summer junior level or above, all long course. So like this past season, it seems to be the case that we're going to end up being bronze level from our swims from the summertime, based on how many points that they got. So that's pure performance. The other one is, also kind of the way that your team is structured.
That's pretty interesting, actually. I didn't know about that until you described it.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams can have those levels if they are willing to put in the time. It's a lot of time to do all that stuff, but I think I did the first time when we got to the 3 level status. I just did all that when I was at trials in 2016 with Brandon, because I had a lot of downtime. And then when I did level 4, I think it was in 2021 Olympic trials with Abby. When you've got one swimmer for 7 days, you got some downtime.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So, talking about those 2021 Olympic trials that were delayed by COVID, the pandemic basically brought about it's still going, but it brought about over 2 years of just kind of a general uncertainty in what was going on. So I'm curious if you can talk to me about how the team was able to not only maintain its size but also grow in a time that a lot of other programs were struggling to find athletes and losing a lot of athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So part of that was that we just got on top of the communication with our list of athletes, right away, and we did dry land right away through it. So we stayed connected with them. And then as soon as we were able to have full space, we actually, I'm going to say we actually kind of helped make that happen a little faster than it would, because I was on the phone with the Alameda County all the time, talking to them about, the safety of kids being in chlorine water outside, and, showing them diagrams of how we were going to structure the lanes and, everything like that. So basically what happened was eventually I got in contact with a woman who was pretty high up there, who had kids in summer league, who was very pro exercise for kids during the pandemic. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was great. So she basically helped us move through the process that we got cleared to go. We were one of the first sports where we got cleared to actually participate again. And we got into the tennis club where we were swimming at the time, before the tennis club even was allowed to open, well before. So they would just open it up for us to swim and then close it again. So once we got in the water, it was a slam dunk, because kids were starved for social interaction. They were loving being at the pool. They would stay after and talk for 15 minutes, and we would just let them do it because they needed that interaction. Even being on opposite sides of the pool and only one person per lane, it was really nice for them, because they got to get out of the house and be around friends. And I think just mental, emotional wellness, that was a huge thing for them. So as we went through that, we did that. We also ran some inter squad meets. Livermore area Park and Recs was good enough to help us do that, which was great. And then there came a point where we had actually organized it to move everybody to the Livermore area Park and Recs department before, and then the owner of the tennis club, I think, wanted to have us stay there. So, we kind of got that situation changed at the last minute. But then we thought, hey, we set all this up ourselves. We organized it. We're doing all this. We can move. The time is right. We had been kind of confined to a certain amount of space at the tennis club we were at. So we took a risk to move to the LARPG pools. We had some really good communication with them. We signed a contract with them, and then once we got more space, we had always kind of, for the last 5-6 years, we had a waiting list. So once we got more space, the numbers just continue to rise up and get better and better.
I think that's pretty interesting. There's a lot that some teams could learn from that, of how to maintain their athletes through a time of uncertainty when there isn't necessarily access to a pool, just by keeping everybody connected and keeping everybody engaged. And I think I can definitely relate to the relief of social interaction when getting back in the water. When my college season started up again in 2021, everybody was kind of on board of like, okay, nobody messed this up.
yeah, right. It's important to you guys. You wanted to be there, yeah.
There was only like 8 of us. We barely had enough for a women's relay half the time, but it was just everybody was overjoyed just to be able to do something.
Yeah. Well, that's something that it's important for us to remember, what a privilege it is to be able to do this. And, having it be taken away for a little while hopefully made people remember that. It's really cool to be able to, be outside exercising with your friends in a healthy way. It's great.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was definitely something that I think we took for granted before all this happened. And it's definitely not something that I'm going to take for granted again. Just being able to be on a team in a good environment, doing something that I like to do.
Yeah.
So
Hattie, I get to ask you a question right now.
Sure.
I'm looking at your room and I'm seeing a Marvel poster of the floating face of somebody who I don't know, and I think a painting by Seurat. Is that correct? The people looking at the park.
It's the Office version of it. Here, I can turn my camera a little bit to show you. It's the Office version of it.
Oh, that's funny.
And then
who's the face?
So there it is. So yeah. I found this when we were cleaning out my room. I don't know where it came from, and I don't remember cutting it out. But it was behind my bookshelf when we were moving it, and it's Matt Damon.
Oh, cool.
And I don't remember where I got it from. Yeah. But I just thought it was funny, so I kept it up there.
He's looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Is he the good angel or the devil?
I just thought it was funny.
Depends on the movie.
Yeah. So we're almost done with the questions here, and I wanna talk about this most recent season because I witnessed firsthand how successful the team was this past season. You guys placed in the top 30 out of 300 teams at Junior Nationals. You were 6th out of over 100 teams at the Junior Olympics in the winter back in December. And you were 8th at the California Nevada sectionals with a team record for the amount of athletes that qualified. For what is arguably a smaller team, can you walk me through how you and your coaching staff were able to make like a unified voice that brought the team to these new heights?
Well, I think it's been a long process, and if I look at my coaching staff and from top to bottom, it's like every person in there I trust. I appreciate them being there. They're really good and they want to learn things, and they're very professional. They bring a lot of energy to the deck. They connect with the kids and encourage the kids and make the kids want to be better. So if you do that for consistent periods of time, you eventually have more and more high level performances on your team. Right now we have so many new kids that we do have a lot of kids that, like I think I looked at our stats yesterday and we have like 66% of our team does not have B times yet because there's so many new kids. So that's going to be one of our goals next season is like, can we get it? Can we flip it? Can we make it so that 66% of the kids have B times, you know? Um, and that might seem like a small goal because you might think like, well, B times aren't very fast, but for a beginner swimmer, first year season swimmer, B times are pretty fast. And then if you get enough kids that get B times, then the next season they get A times. Well, JOs is A times now, you know. And then I always think like if a kid is, you know, 14 and under and they have JO times, they have a good shot at some point to get sectionals, you know. So part of the dialogue is just, you know, between Lisa and I and Teresa and Coach Hamza, just talking about how like, hey, how many kids can we get to sectionals? How many kids can we get to this meet? How many kids can we get to that meet? The more kids at these different meets, the more fun it is for the kids because they just have more people to hang out with, and the relays are better, and the team kind of feels stronger at those meets. So a lot of the things we talk about are not necessarily specific like kids as times. It's about team things. And even like this summer, you know, I mean, we had at Summer Juniors, you said we got 29th place. I think we had 6 final swims, like six scoring final swims from 4 kids. And I had talked with them last summer about, hey, if you guys have a really good summer, I think we have a shot to get bronze medal status, right? And Abby had a couple swims that were in bronze, you know, to get us points for that. And Bryson had one, but we just barely missed with like Jack Hendrick and Shock, you know. And I didn't mention it all year. And then as the summer was coming closer, those guys mentioned it to me. Said, hey, what do you think? Do you think we can get the bronze medal status? Do you think? No. So to me, that was super inspiring to think that they were thinking about the team. You know, they weren't coming up to me like, hey, do you think I can make finals? Do you think I can, you know, obviously that was important to them, but their first thought was like, hey, do you think we can make bronze level status? And all 4 of them contribute. Actually, Bryson's didn't count because he had done college, even though he's young and he had skipped a grade. USA Swimming doesn't count that, which I think is dumb, USA Swimming, because they've been swimming with us since they were little. So if they go, you know, if they're young enough, you should count. But anyways, who am I to say? But it was cool that they were engaged in that. That was really cool. And they all contributed points to that, which was really awesome, you know, and we had ice cream at the end of the meet. It was fun. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think emphasizing team is really, really important. And, you know, the same goes for our coaching staff. Like the coaches on our staff are great, and I appreciate them, and I try every chance I get to let them know that what they're doing is contributing to those performances, even if they can't see it, because, you know, it's been 3 years since they coached that kid. They set that, you know, like Jack Hendrick swam a 5:02 in the 500 free in Lisa's group. So for him to go now and, you know, go 3:59 long course, well, that started in Lisa's group, you know, it didn't just start in the senior group. And it's important for them to know that. I think they do, but it's important for us to reinforce that.
I think you've definitely answered the question, and I've definitely seen everything that you're talking about as I've taken my younger brother to all the team interactions and taken him to meets, and there's definitely it's definitely a good team atmosphere and a good positive atmosphere. I don't think I've ever seen any negativity or any negative interactions amongst the kids at meets. And I think it's just building towards something that's already really positive and really like already well achieving, I guess is the right word. But it's just building towards something even better as the team grows and as the kids grow and improve. And it's just kind of it's exciting to see.
Well, you were a big part of it, so, you know, it's nice to have this kind of full circle.
Yeah.
Now that you're a coach and you're a good interviewer, and, you know,
Thanks.
obviously a student athlete. So, yeah, you know, there's obviously sometimes negative interactions and things don't always go perfectly, but the intention is for us to make it as good as possible, right? In every way we can. Yeah.
Alrighty, well that's all the questions I've got for you. The last thing that we can do is if you've got anything you want to promote for the team, this is your time. If anything.
Yeah, well, actually, Hattie, Coach Teresa set up a fundraiser for the Humane Society on September 10th, Saturday. Normally, a lot of teams do swim-a-thons. We used to do it in the past, but we've kind of folded in our fundraising into the dues so that it's not necessary for us to do that right now. So she had the idea, and Jack, her son, is organizing it to do it for the Humane Society. So if anybody wants to contribute to that, please
Is
pledge
is
one
there
of the
is there a link
swimmers.
for it?
I can email you that.
That'd be great actually. If you email it to me,
Okay.
I can put it in the description.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Hattie.
Yeah, thank you.